Hi, my name is Nick Corsetti, and I just wanted to tell you about how the film The James Lee Smith Story came to be. The story came to me through a friend. He emailed me the story that he found on the internet. I couldn't stop the tears from flowing because I read about what happened to this gentleman in prison that had mental illness. And I had already been doing films on mental illness throughout my film schooling. I was finishing up at Long Beach State University as a film student, and I used that as my one of my final projects. So I decided to write the script. I was compelled to write this script because basically it took on a life of its own. It was just something I had to do. It's one of those things, and I started writing the script June 1st of 2004, and I wanted to have the first draft done on July 15th, which I was able to do. And from that point on, I kept rewriting the script, rewriting it, and honing it down, and up till about, let me see, middle of May is probably when I had the final draft done. It was probably my fourth or fifth draft at that point. About 2 weeks before we began shooting, it was an 11-day shoot, and we had a shoestring of a crew. Things just couldn't turn out any better actually for us. It was a miracle. We planned on shooting this the end of May and into the first week and a half of June. And we were fortunate enough to have use of the Long Beach State University for 2 days that it was actually closed, which was incredible because there's about 40,000 students there, and there was absolutely no one there other than maybe parking services. So Dean Parra had given us his office to use to shoot the doctor scenes between Dr. Lazarus and Dr. Thornton. Shot at the Csulb Institute for Women up in LA. We shot there for, I believe it was 3 days, all the prison scenes, and then we had various different locations in Orange County, LA, where we had done some more scenes and did more shooting for the movie. 100 scenes. Just to tell you a little bit about the cast during we did the auditions. 500 applicants there were about 30 roles. The auditions were incredible. We had a great turnout. Very difficult to make some of the choices. Some people really wanted some of these roles. I think because of the subject matter of mental illness, it's such a common thing nowadays. It's so much out in the open. And, the whole reason for the movie is to bring more awareness about mental illness to the public in the prison systems, because there are about 500,000 people in prisons now that should be in other facilities for the mentally ill. Problem is, we don't have those beds. There's only about 40,000 beds available now in the United States, and we're using the prisons to house the mentally ill. This was the main motivation behind making the film, to see what happened to this gentleman in prison. I wanted to write it down. I wanted people to see what happened to this guy, and it's more common than we realize. It's happening a lot every day while we're going on with our everyday lives. These people are in a prison cell or in BMP or in like a solitary confinement, and they're being treated inhumanely, underfunded, understaffed to the prisons, to bring more awareness to the public about what is going on out there. I just want to say a little bit about the actors, and they really stepped up to the plate once we went through the audition process and we chose all the actors and actresses for the roles. They really stepped up and they took their parts very seriously. A lot of people wanted to be involved in the film. They liked the script, they liked the story and what I had to say. They gave it their all. We had regular rehearsals at the school. People showed up, they were there, they were prompt, they put in the time. They even worked, some of the actors worked on their own together with one another, like Dr. Lazarus and Dr. Thornton. Adam Christopher played Dr. Thornton, and you had Louis Amazera that actually played the Dr. Lazarus. It was actually the first scenes that I actually wrote script, because I wanted to show the conflict that happens out there in the world when it comes to mental illness, a conflict in diagnoses. Two different points of view from two different psychiatrists points in their life, where they are at that moment in time. And in Orange County, he had told me that this is pretty much what's going on. You have different diagnoses from different psychiatrists and different approaches and schools of thought and so on and so forth. Basically what happened to James Lee Smith in prison. At first, before South Coast State Prison, he was at West Coast State Prison. There he was medicated under Dr. Frederick's care, and he was doing great. And then once he was transferred, the medicine was making him sick in his stomach. He had problems, pains in his stomach, so he had to be taken off of that medication. The problem was Dr. Lazarus concluded that James Lee Smith was basically narcissistic. He was making this up. He was just looking for attention, so on and so forth, and not put James Lee Smith on any medication. This caused all the problems that you see in the film, what happened to James because he wasn't medicated. Well, Dr. Thornton comes in. He's fairly new to the field. He's subordinate to Dr. Lazarus, but yet Dr. Thornton puts his own neck on the line because he sees the problems that James is having, and he's convinced James absolutely needs medication. Dr. Lazarus refuses to put him on any medication, even when Dr. Thornton is telling him, I think you need to reconsider your diagnosis and maybe spend some more time with him and try to figure out more what's going on with him. But Dr. Lazarus, because he's burned out, he's been in the system for a long time, this guy is up against understaffing, underfunding, and he's just overwhelmed. The guy's basically overwhelmed, and he's given up. He forgot basically why he was there, why he became a psychiatrist. And Dr. Thornton calls him on this and tries to bring this to the forefront and show him what's going on and try to make him aware of what, but he won't. It's that he believes that James Lee Smith is actually manufacturing this behavior. So anyway, long story short, Willie becomes a good friend of James's, and he has a friend there, but regardless of that, he still needs to have medication, which he doesn't receive in prison. He goes through all his bizarre behaviors. He escapes 3 suicide attempts, escapes death. It's happening right under our noses, United States prison system. So I just wanted to bring more awareness to it. It's where things become better. More attention to a situation, and people that are mentally ill are being held in prisons, and they're in the wrong place because they're not getting the proper medication, they're not getting medicated, and their bizarre behaviors continue on. Maybe they're in prison for a while, but then they get out, and then they do something that causes them to get back in prison. Whereas if they were medicated, they were getting the proper care, there was enough medical programs in place, then there wouldn't be as many people in the prison systems. That would save alone just taxpayers millions of dollars alone, right there alone, because they could get on with their lives. If they're medicated properly, they could live a productive life, normal life. Because the thing is, it's a brain illness, as we probably all know out there now. We hear a lot of it on the television and with the pharmaceutical companies. They advertise different medicines and so on and so forth. Sometimes it takes a while to find the right medication, but once these people get on the proper medication, then they can live a productive life. They're no longer in the system, they're not in prison, they're getting the proper care, and they can conduct a normal life. A lot of them have families, they have a regular life, but it's hard for them when they're not medicated and when they're not getting the proper medical care. Many times a psychiatrist is needed to make the right, proper diagnosis. I hope you enjoy the film. I hope you guys are able to get something from it, understand what's going on out there. And you could go online anytime and research anything to do with prisons. You'll be just amazed at what's going on right underneath our noses in the prison systems. A lot of these people are just minor offenders, minor offenses. Somehow by their behavior, they wind up in the prison system. And once you get into the system, it's really hard to get out. Then if they do get out, a lot of times they go right back into it again because it's just a lack of understanding. Police are, instructed to act in a certain way if someone is getting out of hand, or they're just too excited about something and they show up at the scene. A lot of times these people are arrested. They wind up in the system. Whereas if they were medicated, they wouldn't be. They'd be receiving the proper medical care. If they need medication like you would for diabetes or any other sickness, you get proper medication and you're able to control the illness. It's the same thing there. It's just we're talking about the brain now. Feel free to email us, artlifemusic@aol.com. Go to our website, artlifeproductions.net. You can see the behind the scenes of when we shot the film. You can see the trailers and some of the other earlier films we did. One on there, a PSA called They Affect Us. You can see all that at artlifeproductions.net. So hope to hear from some of you and hope you enjoyed the film.